24 banks. Identical rules, identical balance sheets. 16,384 depositors each. In every single one, I picked 5 people at random and had them withdraw their money for no reason at all. 9 of these banks are now dead. 15 are fine. And here's the part that should bother you. Every one of these banks was solvent the entire time. Not one of them ever ran out of assets. Their loan books were worth 100% of deposits from the first tick to the last. They did not go broke. They ran out of cash. By the end of this, you will know the exact number that decides which 9. There are only 3 rules. 1. Every depositor sits on a grid and can see their 8 neighbors. 2. Each one has a private number I am going to call nerve. It is the share of those 8 who have to withdraw before this person does. Some need 1 neighbor to crack. Some need all of them. That number is drawn once before anything happens and it never changes. This is it on screen. 16,384 people, shaded by how easily they panic. Look at it for a second, because it is the thing that decides everything that follows, and there is no pattern in it whatsoever. It is noise. 3. The bank keeps a reserve of 10% and can pay everyone else out of its loan book. Eventually. Just not today. Then 5 people withdraw for no reason. That is the entire model. So watch what 5 people do. This is one of the 24. At full speed, the whole run is over in a few seconds, so it is slowed right down, and the badge in the corner tells you exactly by how much. Nothing is cut, and nothing is smoothed. Those 5 are somewhere in that field, and for a while almost nothing happens, because most people need several neighbors to move before they will, and nobody has several neighbors yet. Then, a cluster reaches the density where it feeds itself. The bright edge is people withdrawing right now. The duller red behind it is people who already have. Notice that it does not spread evenly. It spreads fast where the jumpy people happen to be sitting next to each other, and it stalls where a stubborn patch gets in the way. Nobody in this simulation can see any of that. They can only see 8 neighbors. That is worth checking rather than just asserting, so I checked it. Every depositor who withdrew, and everyone who did not, and what their private nerve number was. The people who ran had an average nerve of 32.6%. The people who sat still averaged 38. The whole population averages 36 by construction, so the run did not spread at random, it went hunting. And the ones who moved first, in the opening 40 ticks, averaged 30.2. The fire found the kindling, then found more of it. Nobody designed that. It falls out of 8 neighbors and 1 threshold each. Here is the number. The bank keeps 10%, and there are 16,384 depositors, so the reserve pays exactly 1,638 of them. That is not a bug, and it is not a badly run bank. That is what a bank is. Your money is not sitting in a vault, it is lent out, and the 10th person in the queue is the last one the till can serve today. This bank crossed that line at tick 31. 1,654 people had withdrawn, 16 more than it could pay. At that moment, it is finished. Still completely solvent, still owed every penny of its loan book, and completely unable to hand you your money. And then nothing stops. The bank is broke at tick 31, and the run carries on for another 221 ticks. By the end, 7,137 people have withdrawn. That is 43.6% of the entire bank. 1,638 of them got paid. The other 5,499 joined a queue for money that was already gone, and every one of them made it worse for the person behind them. This is the part that makes a bank run feel unfair, and it is not a metaphor, it is the arithmetic. There is no mechanism in this model, and not much of one in a real bank, for the queue to find out. Now put the 24 back up, and look at 2 of them in particular. This bank survived. 1,588 people withdrew from it, and it lived. This one died. 1,682 withdrew. The difference between them is 94 people out of 16,000. Not 94%, 94 people. Same rules, same reserve, same number of panickers to start with. The only thing that differed was where those 5 happened to land, and whether the neighbors they landed next to were the jumpy kind. That is the entire difference between a bank that is fine and a bank that is a headline. Obvious question, 5 people started this. What if it had been 1? Same bank, same nerve field, same everything. I'm only turning down the number of people who withdraw for no reason. 1 person. The bank still dies. 7,109 people withdraw, 43.4% of the bank, against 7,137 when it was 5. Functionally the same run. The 5 were not the cause. Any single one of them would have done it, because what matters is not how many people start it. It is whether the first cluster finds enough nervous neighbors to keep itself going. It does work the other way though. Push it up to 8 and the run gets much bigger. 10,233 people, 62.5%, because now a second cluster catches somewhere else and the 2 of them eat the map from both ends. So what happens if I make everybody slightly braver? There is 1 dial, the average nerve, the share of neighbors it takes to move someone, and I have to be careful here, because the obvious way to code that rerolls every person's number, which would mean I had swapped the crowd out as well as turning the dial, this does not do that. The same people keep the same relative jumpiness and only the threshold moves. At the setting you have been watching, 9 of the 24 die. Make them 1 point more nervous and 20 of the 24 die. Go 1 point the other way and it is 2. 1 percentage point of average nerve is the difference between a banking system and a crisis, and there is no instrument anywhere that measures it. The obvious fix is to hold more cash, so I ran the same bank again at 5%, 10, 20, 30, 50, and 100. Look at the column that never moves. 7,137 people withdraw at every single reserve level, identical every time. Not one depositor is calmed by the bank being better funded, because not one of them can see the reserve, they can only see their neighbors. What the money buys is time. At 5% it fails at tick 19. At 30% it fails at tick 107. It does survive at 50%, but only because 50 is bigger than the 43.6% who happen to run. To size that buffer correctly, you would have to already know how big the run was going to be. 9 of 24. Every one of them solvent, every one of them killed by a Q. The run you just watched is on screen, its identifier, and the digest of the state it recorded. That recording is in the repository linked below, along with the engine that produced it and a command that checks one against the other. Run it yourself and you will get the same digest, because the whole thing is integer arithmetic from a seed. That is the point of this channel. I am not telling you what a simulation would probably do. I am showing you what this one actually did and handing you the receipt.